So I'm going to try to make this one really quick. I've been noticing stuff around here slowly since I got here, that just little things that probably, I'm sure most people wouldn't find important, but it's gnawing on my gut. My kayak almost floated away today. Like, I woke up feeling like my head was in a vice. You know, I guess a good portion of it is my fault. I'm not keeping myself on my regular sleeping schedule, I guess. I'm not getting enough sleep, like what I typically get. I'm drinking caffeine again when I wasn't for like at least 2 years. I'm not drinking my alkaline waters regularly. I'm drinking too much added sugar and eating too much gluten. And like, my diet is, I've shifted my diet too much, so like a lot of it is my fault. I just feel like I'm like I can't keep up. I'm tired all the time. My free time has to be used a lot to de-stress. And I just feel like I'm not productive enough. Not in the areas that I need to be. I'm not organized or clean, not nearly as much. Like, it's not like things don't get this messy, but like, they typically don't stay this messy, or they also don't get this messy typically unless I'm on the road traveling. You know, when I've been someplace for a while, first of all, when I get there, I typically clean and organize and get things settled and stable and away within the first week to 2 weeks that I'm there. Just get everything organized and like ready so that I just have everything where I know it is and I'm ready for whatever. That's not completely happened at all yet. Since I got here, I've been here since the end of September. It's the beginning of December. And then, yeah, things typically remain, for the most part, very nice and clean and organized. You know, it'll get a bit messy, but then I get it back on track. And the messiest it gets is like, you know, laundry day. Again, like, I'll factor in stuff. I love, you know, my cat. But that is another thing. So my cat is a symbol of my daughter. Tangible symbol of my daughter. She was my kitten. It's a tangible symbol of my daughter, and you know, my kayak very much is a tangible symbol of my daughter. Because when I was pregnant with her, I used to go out in the kayak and sing to her. I would take like a sandwich out on a, you know, very steady water, like a small pond lake. You know, I've taken that kayak and that kitten across the country and back, and had that kayak in a lot of waters, different waters, rivers and ocean. And I had my kitten, you know, we camped in deserts, had her in coyote infested areas, had her in fox infested areas, had her in areas very much like this, and very different cray areas too, like, and she was still fine. It's just all these things are popping up around here that are gnawing at my gut, like, you know, these two symbols of my daughter, and I feel like these aren't the only two. I'm just not accounting for one now, right now, at least one, because I'm so tired. It's like I can't remember my own name or see straight. I'm just, it's like I can't catch up energy-wise, focus-wise. And I don't know what the deal is. Is it me? Is it this place? Is it just not a good match? It seemed perfect when I got here. I thought, like, found it. Like, I'm here, I got here. This is it. I could totally, like, settle down here forever, for the rest of my life. This is where I would dream about, like, raising a family. I love working with horses. It's in my name. My last name, Phillips, means friend of horses or lover of horses. But for whatever reason, it's just... So when I see the symbols of my daughter, like, being torn apart and eaten alive by coyotes, that came up, that were brazen enough to come up around the back of a barn when people were just out there with horse and walking around, and there were lights, outside lights on, and still were even after, like, and, you know, and apparently the attack happened when one of my coworkers was still there, like, in the barn. He hadn't even turned the lights off yet, the inside lights. But even when the inside lights were off at night, there are some outside floodlights that are, like, they're attached to the barn. They're always on, and there's a back light. Coyotes are brazen enough, like, to come up and attack a cat that close to the back of a barn, a few yards away from the back of a barn that's just has a bunch of activity going on there and a bunch of light, when there's all this other prey for them to catch out, like, literally yards away in the dunes in the dark, undercover, or they'd be safer. I don't know. And people, like, walking there, you know, I see dog tracks and stuff back there, and people's foot, like, because the back of the dunes goes out on the beach, and the dunes there, so people, like, walk their dogs on trails that go back behind the barn and everything. So, like, they should be smelling dogs back there. And the coyotes living in these dunes should really not want to be too much around the back of that barn. There's lots of other areas for them to be trained around here. Like, the fact that they were so brazen. And so that's a symbol of my daughter attacked and ripped apart. That's how coyotes kill. They, like, disembowel and rip apart and eat alive. And then another symbol of my daughter, a kayak floating away. And I would have lost it if I just hadn't happened to look up out the window. Because I'm sure it wouldn't have stayed stuck in that marsh forever. It would have dislodged and gone farther. And who knows when I would have noticed. Like, sometimes days and days go by that I'm like, I don't barely notice my kayak because I'm not thinking of kayaking. I don't know. Let me get to the point. I apologize. And this was going to be a short video. So I was saying some of this stuff to someone I work with this morning, that it's just feeling a lot like something's wrong, and my gut is gnawing at me about some of this stuff. And he was just like, what? So at one point he said, I let God tell me what to do. So then I tried explaining to him one of the deeper lessons in Star Trek. Ready, Trekkies? My dad was a Trekkie. I should know. There's lots of ways, so we're just going to do a real quick analysis of the relationship between Captain Kirk and Spock. And I don't remember if I mentioned this in a previous video, but it's worth mentioning again if I did. You should really pay attention to this. This will help all of you. That relationship between those two characters can symbolize a lot of different plays and dualities, and be interpreted on a lot of different levels. But here's one way I know that it can be interpreted, and likely should be. Spock stands for the intellect. He's intellect divorced almost entirely from emotion. He's almost pure intellect. He's your mind. He's the mind. He's the deciding factor. He's the decision maker. He's the one that weighs pros and cons. He weighs facts, so on and so forth. He remembers all the, he knows all the rules, and he follows them to a T. And he remembers everything. He remembers the facts. He remembers all the rules. Captain Kirk, however, is your gut instinct. That's how I've always read it. Some people might read him as the heart. I see him as gut instinct. I don't think he's so much heart as gut instinct. He acts, sometimes it might seem irrational, but like in the moment when something needs to be done, now he does it. He doesn't step back and, you know, take the time to weigh all the pros and cons. Sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you have to act. Sometimes you have to just go with your gut and just, your gut, you have to have really good gut instincts, and they have to be really well honed, and you just have to trust them, and you just have to jump in and do it because it's that time. Like, it's not the time to have a committee and figure out the best course of action. Like, this is not that time. So, Captain Kirk is your gut instinct, and Spock is your intellect. There is a reason why Kirk is the captain and not Spock. Your gut, who was it? It was one was, you know, Socrates, I think it was. One of the ancient Greek philosophers. I believe it was Socrates. Said he had a voice inside of him. Because I mix up some of them sometimes, some of the stuff they say. And he said he had a voice inside of him. And it never told him what to do. It only ever told him what not to do. And he always listened to it. And that's, I believe he attributed like his success in life and his intelligence and wisdom and accumulated experiences to always listening to that voice and not doing whatever it told him not to do. What he's talking about, I highly suspect, is his gut telling him, because your gut doesn't tell you to do things. That's positive. That's, I want this. Here's what I need to do to get it. That's a lot more here. Your gut is, remember, is more negative. No, no, no. So when you're doing something you know is wrong, because you have a sense of right and wrong and good and bad, and you, if you've ever done something that you pretty much knew you shouldn't be doing, if you pay attention, you should have had a little gnawing in your gut going like, It works the same way also when, like, if you're in a dangerous situation, like the wolves are circling. I think I do remember kind of saying something like this at some point in a previous video. But like I said, worth repeating. If you find yourself in a dangerous situation that might not seem dangerous on the surface, but you just start getting, like, you know, the hairs on the back of your neck are standing up, and you get that gnawing in your gut, and it's going, no, 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 something's off about this. Something's off about this interaction with this person. Something's off about their motives or whatever. That's your gut. It doesn't tell you what to do. It tells you what not to do. It tells you no, no, no. It's the negative. Here's the positive. Here's the negative. As far as I've understood it. On this side of things, the veil. What are women again? Negative. Men are positive, right? So, what do you think rules here? And this is also in the chakra system, it's called the Manipura chakra, the solar plexus chakra. Solar, that might convince you that it's meant to be ruled over by a male, but remember how she is the true light. Manipura means was the city of jewels, the city of lights, city of jewels. Remember how she's supposed to be a light made up of all these other little lights. A big still light made up of smaller lights. Look at the 2D sacred geometrical image of the flower of life. That's her. All these little flowers within a bigger circle flower. That's a 2D depiction of it. Little lights making up a bigger light, and it's still. And that's she, and you're within her, and that's where she speaks to you here through your gut. On that side, she's positive. On that side of the veil, On this side of the veil, she's negative. She speaks to you through your gut. She goes, no, 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 don't do that. And I think it's a lot of times it's stuff to do. It's like, you'll never be able to undo this, or you'll never be able to get this back. My daughter was very precious to me, and I'll never be able to get her back. I'm not sure I mentioned in any previous videos, but when I lost her, I was almost 9 months pregnant. We were expecting her like any day. I was down to regular weekly visits, and she had started moving a lot less. And I was starting to get my gut instinct gnawing at me. Something's wrong. So I went in, one of the visits, the regular visits, and said to the nurse, and everything checked out like it always had. It was a regular, on the money, on the dot pregnancy. Growth as per normal. My blood pressure, my weight, everything was normal across the board. They're like, you are excellent pregnant. You are great. This is an amazing pregnancy, is what I was told all along. So, but then I started getting that gut feeling. Something's wrong. She's not moving as much. I mentioned it to the nurse when we went in, and I was essentially told, oh, she's just a big baby. She just doesn't have a lot of room to move. And you're going to have her, and she's going to be here any day now. If they had bothered to round up a sonogram technician professional and break out the machine and done a quick check just to make sure, if I'd bothered to insist, because if I'd been wise enough at the time to know to trust my gut instincts more than the say-so of a nurse who's probably tired, overworked, just wants to go home, just wants to get the next patients in and out. They just want to charge the next insurance card. They just want their paycheck, and they just want to go watch television. And they don't want your kid to die necessarily, but they also won't take responsibility for the death if the death occurs from their being incompetent or lazy. So I really should have listened to my gut instinct. So instead of doing that, I listened to the nurse tell me that she was fine, because I wanted her to be fine. I wanted to believe it. So I didn't, and I was also taught not to make waves and not to be annoying to people. I was taught that a lot growing up. Don't annoy people. Don't make waves. Don't put people out. Don't make people go out of their way for you. You're just a girl. That's only for men. That's for boys. People go out of their way for boys. Boys make waves. You hush and stand there in the corner. I'm sure most women and girls out there can understand what it's like to be raised that way. You sit there with your ankles crossed and your hands folded politely in your lap, and you are silent. And you don't speak unless you're spoken to. I was raised in that way to a large degree. Not always. There's a lot of... We'll leave it there. So, but because of all that, because I wanted her to be okay, because I wanted to believe she was all right, and because I was raised not to make waves, and most women are, I think most girls are, to a large extent, I didn't pipe up. I didn't make an issue out of it. I didn't insist. I didn't say, no, double check. This is my daughter's life. Double check. Make sure. I don't want to leave this exam room until we know for sure that she's all right. Because if they had double checked, they would have seen her cord was about half the length of a regular cord, and it was wrapped around her neck. And that we needed an emergency C-section. She almost certainly, if we'd done that, would be alive right now. That happens a lot. Lots of babies are saved by emergency C-sections. Mine wasn't, because people are people. Even nurses and doctors get tired and lazy and greedy. And because I didn't know to trust my gut instincts. Kirk, your gut instinct, and Kirk, Captain Kirk, they're like the canary in the coal mine. They're like that robot from Lost in Space. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. And that's when you're supposed to set Spock to the task of figuring out why Kirk is losing his shit. I know I'm kind of playing crossover with sci-fi stuff, but like, you get the point. There's a reason why Kirk is the captain and not Spock. You're supposed to trust your gut instinct first. You're supposed to let your gut instinct guide you. So long as your moral code is set up properly, then you don't have to worry about like, oh, you're gonna be guided to down some evil path. Make sure the moral code is there. But then once you've got that, then your gut instinct operates appropriately and kicks in when it's like, this is naughty stuff you're doing, or you're in a situation where people are doing naughty stuff and they're hiding it from you, and you need to be careful. Spock's not meant to rule. Pure intellect divorced from emotion is not meant to rule, because what you get, what you sacrifice by compartmentalizing so much that you divorce your emotions and empathy from your intellect, is you lose something. You lose that gut instinct, it seems. You lose that thing that makes Kirk, that makes him the captain, that makes him the best suited for that position. You lose it if you go the way of the Vulcan. Now, if you had to step back and assign a gender, like if these two, Spock and Kirk, are also meant to represent the two genders, which would you give to which? I'd say Spock is the more male and Kirk is the female. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'd say that. Again, just because I see so much of that behavior from males around me. Intellect divorced from empathy and emotion. Unless what is it the opposite on that side? I don't know. So, yeah, so I was trying to explain to one of my coworkers. And then he was like, I like Star Wars better. And I was like, same lessons in there too, all right? These are all just vehicles to basically get the same exact fucking lessons over to you guys, okay? Like, there's just a different formula. It's just a different flavor, style. J.K. Rowling has her own flavor. It's called Harry Potter. It's called Muggles and Witches and Wizards, okay? Then George Lucas has his own style. It's called the Force and the Jedi and the Sith. But it's the same lessons, the same essential stories. Okay? So, I'm breaking it down for you in terms of Star Trek. Please feel free to figure out how it translates over in Star Wars. How Star Wars is telling you these same lessons, just in their own way. Because that is what's going on. Like, stop with the... Anyway, again, teenage kid. I think Star Wars better. I don't give a shit. It's not the point. The point is the lesson in the story. Anyway. Yeah, so... Thanks, Star Trek. Thanks, Dad, for making me watch Star Trek instead of My Little Ponies growing up. He didn't know what to do with 3 daughters. He just had absolutely no clue. He's a good old boy and a farmer and a truck mechanic. Who was like, what, 3 girls? What? Anyway. So, yeah. So I'm seriously thinking about maybe I need to find a different situation because I just have these alarm bells going off in my gut. And it's crazy because when I got here, I was like, this place is fucking magical. And now it's kind of like, this place is really creeping me out. And I'm like trying really hard to see how maybe it's all me spinning it this way. But like, no, I'm sorry. I don't know. Somebody's working with a drill out there. You know, I think this is a good time to cut it off. I feel like there's other stuff I wanted to say, like tie into this. But again, I'm tired, not getting enough water, not getting enough, like just not on a day-to-day basis doing my life the way I typically do it. And so everything feels thrown off. So, and that's a big reason why, like, a lot of these videos are not coming out as regularly as I'd like to. And that's the biggest reason why I'm thinking time for a change of circumstances. Because I've tried stabilizing things here. Again, whether it's my fault, whether I just can't seem to make it work here because it's me, or it's something to do with this place, or it's just not a good match. Like, it's not the place necessarily, it's not me necessarily, it's just not a fit. For whatever reason, it's like, I am not getting enough done along the lines of getting these videos out and getting the blog completely fleshed out, and like not nearly enough. The point of this living like this, so simplistically, and you know, having a job where I'm like living practically right there, and it's just like, this should be easy peasy Japanesey. I should have a good amount of free time that I'm not stressed the F out, and energy to achieve things like this autobiographical investigative journalist expose thing. Like, because this is paramount. This is what's most important. We're talking about child abuse here. This trumps all. Stopping that trumps all things. In my opinion, that's my hierarchy of priorities. Stopping networks of child abusers, child rapists, and people tricking adults, like parents, into abusing their children or putting them into abusive situations. All that, like that absolutely must be stopped. Post haste. That is priority number 1. If the situation is not making it so I can do that, I got to change the situation. And I didn't want to believe the situation at first. I just don't know. It just seems like nothing I do is working out. And it's just like the problems are getting crazier. You know, Ishi's getting my check again. There were issues before because just management switch over. It's just so much nonsense that's been happening here, at least just specifically to me since I got here. I don't think I had to deal with this much nonsense when I was starving out in the dunes in my hometown island with no running water or electricity. So I was thinking like, oh my gosh, we have electricity and running water here. And like some food. I'll be getting way more done. Like, that's, whoa, like, I'll have so much more to give, put towards everything. Like, and it's like nothing's, I was more organized every place else. I really got so much done. out on the West Coast, out in LA, Los Angeles. The amount of leeway, of headway, or whatever, the amount of like progress I made in my research, in just like the work towards this stuff, the amount of focus I had on it was phenomenal. So I'm thinking like, maybe I gotta go back. Maybe it's just the energy out there jived with me better. At least to the West Coast, if not LA. Like, I don't know, but where I am has to be like, it just has to have the right energy. It has to all work. Because I don't have the time. Like, it's enough. My plate is full up with trying to get millionaires and billionaires thrown into cinder block prison cells and kept there for decades and forced to sip toilet bowl wine and have a shitty time for a very long, long time as comeuppance for horrible things they've been doing, and also to serve as a example for others who might be inclined to do the same thing if given the opportunity. Like, you might not want to because you're not going to have a good time down here then if we catch you doing that. Okay, like, that's a lot. That's a lot. And they're a network, and they're well educated and well resourced, and that's a big task. That's a lot. And they probably want me to shut up. And they're probably trying to think on ways like to shut me up. That's plenty of stress and plenty work. I'm not getting paid to do any of this. I'm just doing it because it's the right thing to do. So I have to do this in my free time when I'm not working to pay my bills. That's enough. I don't need the added extra nonsense stress of like, am I not getting my paycheck when I expect to get it? How am I supposed to buy my food? Now I'm behind getting my medicine. Now I'm thrown off in that way. I can't seem to do anything right. Like, I can't keep myself from getting too nervous around the horses because, there are things, I'm not afraid of death. There's another thing I was saying to one of my coworkers the other day, like, I'm not afraid of death, but there are things I still want for myself. I don't have anything I really wanted for myself. I wanted a husband, a good man to be my partner who really loved me and has integrity and respects me and appreciates me and vice versa and is attracted to me and is not gay or secretly a pedo. Like, where is that dude? I would like that dude plus a couple kids that came out of me that I get to raise. Not me raising other people's kids for them. Or for some narcissistic asshole, like, who couldn't be bothered to stick around for more than a year or two because it just didn't get fun. It's just not fun for him. I want things for myself still. I very much am not ready. I'm not cool with dying before I have at least some of that stuff. I just want a typical suburban life. What the fuck, man? Why is that so fucking much to ask for? You give it to so many people, like typical, simple little house, nice little neighborhood, a husband and a couple kids, maybe a dog. Why, and a cat, like, why is that so much to ask for? And it's like, it's just not happening. I don't know what else to do to make that happen, but I'm certainly stupid to put myself in a situation where I could be kicked to death before by a horse if like any little thing sets it off. Even if it's a normal day, like, who know? You don't know. It's a fucking horse. I love horses, but maybe I'm just not in a place in my life right now to be working with them because you can't be nervous around them. They know when you're nervous. And I can't divorce myself from the reality that if any little thing goes wrong, anything, a bird flutters in front of their face, and there's plenty of birds flying around in there, like, they freak out, they kick me in just the right way, and I'm either dead or I'm not capable of having babies anymore. And by the way, naturally, we're coming up on that time anyway, and there's nobody out here. There's no prospects in that arena either. So it's like, I'm not afraid of death. Like, when I'm ready, when it's my time, I'll go. I'm good with death. There are things, but I'm afraid of dying before I do things I really want to do. There's like two things. Get these bastards thrown in prison for raping children and then have my own family, a husband and at least a couple kids that I raise, and have that time that so many people get to have, and like most of you don't really appreciate it or take advantage of it. Like, I should be allowed to achieve those two things. I don't think that's too much before I die. And so I don't know how I can like walk around a horse and not have that at least somewhere in the back of my head. If this thing loses its shit for whatever fucking reason, I could fucking lose the ability for anything I wanted. And it seems to me the only way to not be nervous around a horse is to not give a shit if you live or die. Well, I give a shit. So I'm always going to be nervous around a horse, I guess, until I achieve some of these things that I would like, that I am dead set on achieving, that I am intent on achieving. Like, they must be achieved, or I will not be okay with or death is not okay with me. I'm not cool with it. So I don't know how I can put myself in situations where it's like, I could die at any minute. I understand that, like, that could happen anywhere. A tree limb could fall on my head, but like, the risk goes way up. Come on, you get that. There are situations where the risk of that is next to nothing. It might still happen, but it's not nearly as risky in this situation as it is in this situation. Like, the risk of it happening in this situation is like way more. And that's just, like, we can't separate ourselves from that kind of fact either. Like, I love working with horses. I love working with them, but until I have achieved some things with my life, I will never feel like some things that I want. I've achieved plenty, but not, I would, please take those things, throw them in the trash. Just give me these two things, please. I don't care that I went to Spain, take it. I don't care that I went to Mexico. I don't care that I traveled all around. I don't care that I wined and dined at galas with millionaires and talked dribble. I don't give a shit. I want these two things. Give these two things to me. They're all I want. They're all I ever wanted. Why? I don't want these things. My mom wanted them for me. Give them to her, for fuck's sake. Maybe then she'll finally be happy, like, and let me have the life I want. This isn't fucking fair at all. Like, killing me with stress to do things I don't even want to do. Give the whole fucking Catch the Pedophile network to someone else who doesn't want to have a family. How about that? There's got to be a few out there, right? Where are those people? Why do I have to notice this shit? Why? Why? I wasn't looking for it. I was looking at where's the husband? I was looking for that. Why? This isn't fucking fair. I hate this shit. Sorry, I'm ranting at you dudes, and this is a 38-minute video. When I was hoping it was going to be like a 5-minute video. I should just give up on ever hoping that nonsense. It's never going to happen. I mean, I work with horses, so it's not like I get to talk to people too much every day. And apparently I'm not even really supposed to talk to the horses too much, because then they think, like, you're too nice and they won't respect you. And it's like, then I don't know if I'm right for this job. I'm a mom, dude. When I'm around animals, I can do things like control myself and not feed them treats, because that's bad for them and it makes them hard to, health-wise, it makes them hard to manage, makes them more dangerous. So I can control shit like that, but telling me to do things like not talk to an animal that I'm working around, brushing down. I can talk to while I'm working, that's what I do, but like, I'm not ever going to be able to walk into a barn, just be silent around animals, or walk into a vet and be silent around the animals. Like, they're living, experiencing, they're not inanimate objects. How do you walk in and just like act like they're not there, practically, except to position them around like they're an object? Or tell them, no, stop. Like, I have to talk to them. I have to. That's insane to me. It just seems like, in a lot of ways, I'm not right for this. On some very basic levels that, like, I can't undo my own nature. I'm a mother, and that's just the way it is. That means if I'm working with, even if it's a big animal, it's a big baby to me on some level. I respect that it could kill me. Like, obviously, I think I've made that clear. But also, it's a big baby to me on some level. That's just how it is. You're not going to get me to undo that. That's telling me to not be a woman. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think, because I've been trying to find, where's this magic formula button that I need to press in my brain to make it so I'll be okay, like, walking around these animals and not nervous. I was, like, in a groove getting into it when I first got here, and now it's just, like, I'm in my head about it. When I'm in my head about something, I can't do it. It's the same with, like, speaking Spanish. When I'm thinking about it, I can't trill my R's. I can do it when I'm not thinking about it. When I'm thinking about it, I can't fucking do it to save my life. All day, all day, all day. Can't do it. I can't trill my R's when I'm thinking about it. But if I'm not thinking about it and I'm just saying a word where you trill your R, I will fucking do it. I'll trill my R like I've always, like it's practically like my mother language. Like, I do it well, like, but I'm that person. I can't do it if I'm thinking about it. I'm gut instinct. Captain Kirk here, guys. Sorry. I am not a Spock. I'm not a compartmentalize my intellect from my emotions. That's not me. You're telling me to stop being, like, what I am, the very basic, like, what I am in my very bones, my fiber, my cells, my essence, my soul, what have you, my spirit. I am Captain Kirk. I am gut instinct. I am empathy and emotion mixed with intellect. And these two things are not divorced and compartmentalized. Maybe somewhat, but not that freaking much. I'm not a freaking Vulcan or a dude. I'm not a man. I never will be. I don't want to be. I like being a woman. So maybe what you're saying is, like, a barn is not a place for a woman, and I do not even want to hear. I'm going to make a whole other video on this, but I'll touch upon it. I do not want to hear nonsense like females work in barns around horses all the time. Yeah, well, I'm going to start talking to you in another video about the difference between a woman and a female. There is a difference. Not all females are women. Some females are basically dudes with tits. They don't have the gut instinct. They don't have the mothering instinct, the protective mothering instinct. It's when I see that, and I see them here and there, a female with no protective mothering instinct. You can have plenty of women out there with no kids, but they still have that protective mothering instinct. They're still a mom. They got that mom mind. They see a baby, doesn't have to be their baby, and there's, like, something dangerous coming at them, they're going to throw themselves between the baby and the danger, or they're going to try to scoop it. Like, their instinct will be, save the baby, not save myself. Not, let's watch the baby get run over or some shit. Because that'll be funny. Or, you know, like, or somebody else could do it. Somebody's baby's going to die. No, she does not stop to do that. Like, that's a dude. Get your baby before it gets killed. That's a lot. That's way more a dude thing to do. Like, mom just fucking goes and does it. Like, baby's about to die. The scooper. Like, so there are plenty of women out there that are women, and they have that. You need that mothering, protective mothering instinct. You need the mother in you to qualify as a woman. Otherwise, you are a female at best. You're a female person. And you don't necessarily need kids, but you must have that protective mothering instinct. Or there's no woman there. And that's true. I sat, because of the current climate about gender, I sat down and really thought about it. So I encourage you to. I'm going to try to write it down, the process, the thought process I went through to try to hone down and get to the core of what is it to be a woman. What is it to be a woman? What are all the boundaries? Same as it, there are boundaries to be a human being.
You're not just born into it. You must maintain a certain lifestyle, a certain set of priorities, you must act a certain way, or you do not qualify as a human being. You're Homo sapien. You have a Homo sapiens body, but you don't qualify as a human being. Same for women. It doesn't matter that you're born into a body that's typically called a female. If you don't prioritize certain things, then you don't behave a certain way, then you're not a woman. You're a man with tits. You're female at best. And that's that. And I've had this conversation with many women and mothers, and we've gone over this, like, so it's not like just my opinion. I've bounced this off quite a few, and we've all come to the agreement, like, oh yeah, that's true. Sit down and think about and compare and contrast. What's the difference between a woman and a man? What are the differences? And there are key differences. Okay? It doesn't mean one's any better than the other. It doesn't mean like one should have any more rights than the other. It means that they should both be, what's the word I'm looking for? Recognized, respected, and appreciated for the different qualities that they bring to the table. That doesn't mean they have to be exactly alike. I don't know where you guys, and it's clear you guys start getting this ridiculous idea that like men and women have to be treated exactly the same. They have to be exactly the same. They have to all do the exact same stuff. No. They're very different in a lot of ways for very good reasons. They would be very similar in a lot of ways for very good reasons. But like, we need to respect our differences too, guys. Now I don't know I'm lost down a rabbit hole now. How I got here. Right. That's right. I'm sure just because people will be chiming in. Females work in barns with horses. Females, not necessarily women. And I have seen females that have pushed children out of their body that are still not women and they're still not mothers. Go read that book, A Child Called It. Would you call that a mother? I'd call it a monster. And I would not call it a woman because there's no mothering instinct there. It was a monster. It was a female at best. It was a man with tits. I wouldn't even call it a little girl because think about Beguiled. That little girl had strong mothering instinct. I'm going to bring up Beguiled in the next video. The video that goes more in depth, I think, into like what it is to be a woman. There are very important boundaries. If you don't adhere to those boundaries, guess what? You don't get the title. I don't care what kind of operation you had. I don't care, like, I will absolutely fight to the death for your right to walk around saying that you're a woman and change your body however you'd like. I would caution you to be careful with that because you can't do it. But it's your body. And I'll fight to the death for your right to call yourself a woman, to change your name to a woman's name, to change your body to look like a woman's body. But that doesn't mean that you get to insist that I have to recognize that you're a woman. That I have to say that you're a woman. No, I don't. I don't think you're a woman. For me, you, like a dude just waking up one day and deciding like he was meant to be a woman and then claiming he's a woman is tantamount to the crazy guy you see walking around in street corners in the city claiming that he's Santa Claus. He absolutely has every right to walk around and say that he's Santa Claus. That doesn't mean I have to believe that he's Santa Claus. Okay? He's not the fat jolly dude up at the North Pole getting blowjobs from elves. No. He's a crazy guy. Walking around street corners, doesn't know anything about anything. I mean, maybe he knows a few things. I don't know. Who knows? But he's obviously too freaking confused to relay anything he knows. My brain's so far gone fried, and again, some of that's my own fault. Some of it's, people around here are very nice. I've been invited out, parties, dinners, and stuff, and so I am staying out with friends, having fun, drinking alcohol, which I get also something I don't typically do. It's been a long while since I had any kind of alcohol, but then I got here and been drinking a bit more in a short space of time, which is that like, again, also it's throwing me off. So I woke up with my head in a vice this morning, and then again, and looked out the window to see my kayak was floating away. And it's just like yet another in just a series of things. Yet another thing, really another problem happening. Yet another one immediately after the last. And I know this one's probably on me, but like a lot of these have not been on me. A lot of these is just like, come on, what? Anyway, you know what? 50 minutes and blah, 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 blah. Whatever. I'll get back to you guys with another video soon. We'll see what happens. I don't know anymore.